I changed my shirt, put on some lipstick to try to trick you into thinking this was not filmed the same day as January. Bonjour mon petit triplet, Amber here, and I'm playing catch up. It's almost halfway through March. Sorry to expose myself this way, but I'm just sitting down to film not just my February reading wrap up, but also my January reading wrap up, which I just filmed. But February. So February was quite the reading month actually. February is Black History Month, if for some reason you don't know that. Are you okay? So in February I read a total of 2, 4, 6, 7 books. Well, I read 6, finished one. Not only that, but February was also Blackathon in honor of Black History Month. So all of the books that I read were by Black authors. And because there are 7 books, I'm just going to talk about these books. I don't know. I'm really trying to sound like I know what I'm doing. It's been a while since I have sat down to film a video. I know I said that in January, but you might not have watched both videos. So the first book that I read in February for Black History Month, for Blackathon, the whole shebang, was one I picked up specifically for this readathon because I need a book for one of the prompts. The first prompt was to read a LGBTQIA+ sci-fi fantasy book with a Black protagonist, and I picked up one that I've heard nothing but good things about, and it was The Way to Our Stars by K. Ancrum. I really love you can't really see it because of my tabs, but this bit, which took me so long to realize are sound waves, like radio frequency sound waves. Cool, good for you, Amber. So this story is about Ryan, is that her name? Yeah, Ryan Bird, who has always dreamt of basically traveling in space. Her parents worked for NASA before they died. I said before they died, and being that her parents have died, she and her younger brother James are basically left to take care of themselves, and James's baby, whose name I can't remember, Charlie, they live on the wrong side of the tracks, and Ryan has kind of like fallen into that stereotype, the tough girl from the wrong side of the tracks, don't mess with me. Her and her little collection of friends, because she kind of has this way with people that she can get to the root of their issues and just help them out of it. I don't know what I'm saying. In comes new girl at school, Alexandria, who is the daughter of whose mother is a volunteer on a one-way trip to like the edge of the universe. She got pregnant while she was in training for that, and that was like a big scandal because that the not NASA, the other space force, that's not what they're called, but that's what it keeps reminding me of, basically tried to cover up and then couldn't, and she was left with her at the time teenage father on their own while her mom went into space. Since Alexandria has been old enough to really understand her origin story of sorts, has been trying to catch bits of communication from her mother. Alexandria is really like this angry, introverted type person, and their teacher kind of asks Ryan to help her out, bring her into the circle, and just help crack that. I don't like the way I said that. Long story short, there is an incident which leaves Alex with a broken arm. Therefore, Ryan has to help her with her data collection and communication with her mother. has to help her get on the roof every night, and therefore they get closer, they become friends, and then more than friends. And this story was actually a lot more, it wasn't at all what I expected it to be. I don't know what I expected it to be, but I didn't expect to get as emotionally attached. I really loved every single one of the little kiddos in this book, in all of their complicated brokenness. The book was very, especially the ending, was very like bittersweet, like in the best way. It didn't end the way I thought it would, or kind of necessarily the way I wanted it to, but that's fine. I started crying about like at page like 277, and then kept crying until the end of the book. The author's note: this is the first Kate Ancrum book that I've read. I know that she is the author of The Wicker King, which I didn't really have any thought to read until after reading this book, so I might pick it up at some point. Just the way that this book is written, there's like a flow to it, like a sort of like almost like sort of like a poetic flow to it, and I just really enjoyed it more than I really thought I was going to. I flew through it. I read it in like 2 days maybe. Yes, great. All right. So next, not to crash and burn, you know, but next I read one of my most anticipated 2019 reads, a book I was very hyped and excited to read, a book that I just knew was going to be a 5-star read, and then I was wrong, but it's fine. That book was A River of Royal Blood by Amanda Joy, and I hate saying this. By the time you've watched this, I have a whole video of me talking about this book, but that I'll put in a card and I'll link it down below. But this book is the story of two sisters who are rival heirs. The story follows Evelina, who is the second born in this queendom where the crown is earned, not inherited. Therefore she and her sister are rival heirs, which means that when they both become of age, they will basically have to fight to the death to earn the crown. Everyone in this world has a form of magic. Ava has blood and marrow magic, which I'm still not 100% sure what that is. I just know that she can use blood to injure people, and like the bones of animals to give her strength. I don't know. Her sister Isidore has the power of like persuasion. Issa is the favorite of not just her mother but also the court, and is the assumed future queen. She basically hates Eva, who is her father's favorite, and all of this doesn't really matter. Evelina doesn't know how to use her magic. She finds out there is a block on her magic, therefore she's basically gonna die. So the story basically follows her trying to learn how to wield her magic and give herself a fighting chance against her sister. I was not pleased with this book, to say the least. Nothing of real consequence seemed to happen. I was promised this whole rival heir showdown, but one, that doesn't even really start to the last teensy tiny chunk of the book. Two, the sisters interact I think twice in this, maybe 3 times in this whole book, so like there's no sense of like tension between them really. I don't care about either of them. I don't care about their relationship. I don't care about the story. I'm not attached to anything. Nothing makes sense. The romance in this book happens way too fast and without any sort of like grounding. The whole maybe first 75% of the book still felt just like a whole build up to something that never truly properly happened. When I read the synopsis, I thought it was going to be in the same vein as like the Three Dark Crowns series, which is also a story of sisters fighting for a crown, and it lacked the darkness that I kind of wanted. Also, it's pitched as being a North African inspired fantasy, and I'm not completely familiar with North African folklore, mythology, or North African culture, but like I don't see anything that is different from any other fantasy books that I've read. I didn't really care about this book at all until maybe the end. Will I read book 2? Possibly, just to see what happens next, or if anything picks up, or once again watch my like rant review video to really hear my thoughts. But I'm so upset. I'm so upset. I just knew this was going to be a 5-star book. It was barely a 3-star book, and I'm sad, especially because this cover is beautiful. I'm always getting duped by covers. This is going to come up again soon. So after A River of Royal Blood, I wanted to break up the fantasy, because the book I wanted to read after that was Daughters of Enery. But after reading A River of Royal Blood, I was nervous to read Daughters of Enery, because I had already been disappointed by such a highly anticipated book. So to put a little barrier between that, I finally read my second Tiffany D. Jackson book. I read Allegedly back in 2018, and I just needed to sit down, step back, recuperate, and it's been 2 years almost. Okay, where was I? My phone decided to start ringing, and then my neighbors decided to sit outside and blast music. But anyway, I'm finally back. I finally read the book I meant to read after Allegedly, but I could not, and I'm glad that I waited, because I couldn't have read these books back to back. And that is Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson. Y'all. Okay, so this book follows Claudia, who seems to be the only one that has noticed that her best friend Monday has gone missing. She hasn't been coming to school. No one seems to have a solid answer as to where she is. No one seems to care. She feels like it's up to her to find Monday, because no one's concerned, no one's looking for her. And I feel like this is all I can really say about the synopsis itself without getting into too many spoilery details. But it's basically the story, like, how can a girl, bless you, how can a girl do Spanish and no one is looking for it? Obviously the story is definitely inspired by all of the black girls that have been going missing without people seeming to actually be reporting on it. And like, I find out about these stories on Twitter where like major news, the news isn't covering it for some reason. For some reason, we know what reason is. Anyway, so when I tell you that this book had me shook to my core, that I was rattled, that now I will say that at times that the book can be a tiny bit confusing because it's not told like laterally, it's told in multiple timelines. There's the before, and none of that seems to make sense until you get to the plot twists, plural. And it's quite the twist. And unlike Allegedly just like left me in a state of shock. This one did that, left me feeling like, ooh, it's like a visceral reaction, but also it was so emotional. I cried reading this book. Like, once we got to the answers, oh no, I was not okay. This book wrecked me. This book ruined me. This is 5 out of 5 stars. This is definitely one of my favorite books of the whole year. Definitely one of my favorite books. I wasn't ready. I had an idea of how messed up I would feel, but I still wasn't ready for how messed up I would feel. I know Tiffany has a new book coming out in, I think, September that I'm not ready for, because that one, Grown, is kind of inspired by like the predatory music industry, like the R. Kelly situation. I'm not ready. I love Tiffany's books so much. One, her writing is chef's kiss. Two, I just love, I love a thriller, apparently. Something that just makes you feel like, nah. What? Because it's always, not only is it just making your mind go, what's going on here, what's happening, but it also makes you think, because a lot of I've only read 2 of her books. They're inspired by real things that are happening right now, things that don't seem to be talked about enough, and it's like real. Also say also one more time, Amber. She just posted about 2 more books, future books. I think the first one comes out in 2021, and that one, ooh, she said she's going back to her horror roots with that one. I think it's like it's pitched as like Haunting of Hill House meets, what is it? Hold on, I'm gonna pull up her Instagram right now. I was already in with The Haunting of Hill House, because I love The Haunting of Hill House. Get Out meets The Haunting of Hill House. I beg your pardon? That's fine. That's cool. Lit. That one's called Smoke, and I'm excited to read that. My brain, I can't get enough of this book. I love it so much. I feel like I'm not even doing it justice talking about it, but it made me feel a lot of things. Not a lot of them were good things, but like in a good way, you know? The book's impeccable, but I need to read Let Me Hear a Rhyme now. One, because hopefully it's not going to stab me in the chest. This book was so good. This book was so good. I cried. Did I mention that I cried reading this book? Because I did. And not to slow the momentum again, but oh no, actually I'm not. So the next book I read was on my Kindle, which still needs to be charged. I needed to decompress to recover from Monday's not coming, so I just went with something a lot lighter. Also, when I picked up this next book, it was Valentine's Day, so I decided to go with a adult contemporary romance, and for that I read A Princess in Theory by Alyssa Cole, which is the first in the Reluctant Royal series. I read Prince on Paper, which is the 3rd one in that series, a couple months ago, and I absolutely loved it, so I wanted to start the series from the beginning, and I'm glad I did. This book follows a lady who at the beginning of the story is getting all of these emails claiming that she is the betrothed of this African prince, and that they need her to get in contact with him to confirm her identity, and she of course thinks it's a scam. It gets to the point where she's like telling them, like, she goes from ignoring it to like piss off. Turns out it's not a scam. She doesn't know her history, have any idea of her roots, because she and her parents moved to the States when she was really young, before they died, and so she was raised basically in the foster care system in the US, and doesn't know who she actually is, that she is the betrothed of Prince Tabiso. So enter the prince, who is the love interest, obviously. He basically, after they track Naledi down and find her, and she's in New York, he's also in New York for some diplomatic stuff. He goes to her job, and she confuses him as someone else, and he kind of rolls with it. So we spend a lot of this book with some hidden identity, him basically lying to her, but that's a conversation for a different day. And long story short, she eventually finds out who he is. She ends up going back with him mainly because there is an outbreak of, oh no, it's too soon to be talking about this. There is an outbreak of this disease in his kingdom, and she is a science student. I don't know, I'm not getting the details right. Anyway, adult contemporary romance, you know the gist, you know how these things go. I really enjoyed it. I think it was super cute. There were some points where it felt like it dragged on to me a little bit. It just felt kind of like, sort of like a plot filler. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed being back in the world after reading Prince on paper. I relate to Letty a lot. There's a lot, like I mentioned when I was talking about Get a Life Chloe Brown, the way she handles people and the way she handles relationships and the way she doesn't really trust very easily, like anybody, and has a hard time maintaining friendships and relationships, and the way she feels like her little Velcro theory all hit really close to home to me. That's cool. Can't wait to pick up the next one, which is a Duke, and that follows Portia, who is Letty's best friend, and she ends up with some Scottish Duke or something like that. But Nia and Jojo are still my faves, period. All right, so let's slow this train down a little bit. So I mentioned that I picked up Monday's Not Coming to break up fantasy because I was really nervous that my next read was going to disappoint me, and I wasn't wrong. And this is another one that really pains me to talk about because I hyped it up in my head so much for so long, and I just knew it was going to be a 5-star read, and I'm confused because like I hear so many good things about this book. People are raving about it, and I wanted to be one of those people, but I wasn't. Sorry to jump in and spoil my feelings, and it was Daughters of Enery by Renee K. Amayo. This is another book that follows sisters, and this one follows Nala and Sinai, who, I'm just gonna read the summary because sometimes it's better. It says, time will birth hope back to the earth. It will be brought forth by the Daughters of Enery. A gruesome war results in the old gods' departure from earth. The only remnants of their existence lie in 2 girls, twins, separated at birth. Goddesses who grow up believing that they are human. Daughters of Enery explores their epic journey of self-discovery as they embark on a path back to one another. Strong-willed Nala grows up seeking adventure in her quiet and small village, while the more reserved Sinai resides in the cold and political palace of Enery. Though miles apart, both girls share an indestructible bond. They share the same blood, the same face, and possess the same unspoken magic, thought to have vanished years ago with the lost gods. The twins were separated at birth, a price paid to ensure their survival from Eze Ochichiri. I think I pronounced that wrong. The man who rules the kingdom of Enery. Both girls are tested in ways that awaken a mystical, formidable power deep within themselves. Eventually, their paths both lead back to the mighty Eze. But can they defeat the man who brought the gods themselves to their knees? Like, that sounds so good, right? It could have been. it had potential to be. But alas, I didn't even give it a star rating because I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know. I felt really disconnected from this story, and I didn't care about either of the girls. They both seemed flat to me and not well developed at all. Part of me wonders and kind of hopes that it's intentional, and that maybe in book 2, as they are together and are in kind of like possession of their magic, they'll become more of themselves. I'm not usually one to nitpick about typos or grammatical errors in a book, but this one, it could have done with a lot more editing. I don't know why they were separated for so long. I feel like I don't know, I just didn't care. And are they actually goddesses? It says in the flap that they are, but are they? I don't want to go into anything that might spoil anything, but if you've read the book, you possibly know what I'm referring to. This could have been something. I think when I think about it, I do also think that I might have liked it better if I had listened to it instead of physically read it. I did listen to a clip of the audiobook, and it did sound really good. Well, entertaining. I liked the narrator's voice, and I'm thinking because it kind of did read like it should be read out loud or spoken aloud, almost like how kind of like a folktale passed down through generation, through word of mouth. That's how it kind of read. So kind of like you're being, I know a book, like you're being told a story, but like it kind of read like it was being told to you out loud. So I feel like if I had listened to it in that sort of situation, it might have worked more for me. I've been duped by another cover and I'm very upset. Will I read a second book? I always say this, possibly. 1, because I am really bad at giving up on series. 2, because I'm curious if my theory is correct, that they will be more now that they're together. Also, I'm just really hoping, I think the publishing company is like an independent publishing company, like a small publishing company. I think this might have been the first book of said publishing company. I could be wrong, and I just kind of want to support it. I didn't even want to, like, when I read the book, I was tempted to do another review like I did of Aurora Royal Blood, but I didn't want to sit here and just complain about all of these like books by Black authors, especially if this is like an independent situation. So I'm willing to possibly give it a second chance. I don't know. I'm not sure. We'll see what happens. Let's move on. So next, I wanted to read the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin, and I just really couldn't get past the first couple of pages. I still do intend to read it, but I want to read it in a situation where I'm not trying to like, I don't have any like solid goals for the month, where I'm not trying to like meet challenges for a readathon or anything. So I'm gonna read it. Also, it's a chunky one, so I don't want to rush through it. There's a lot of world building, there's a lot that I have to pay attention to. So instead, I picked up a shorter, easier book to read, and it was Jackpot by Nick Stone. I love Nick Stone. I love her and her books. I love the looks she serves on the Instagram. Also, I knew that this would be a quick and easy read. I usually speed through Nick's books. This book follows Rico Danger. It's spelled danger, but she makes it clear that that's not how her name's pronounced. And she works at a like a gas station convenience store, and long story short, her store ends up selling a winning lottery ticket. She's convinced that the owner of the ticket is the lady she met that day, who bought her a ticket also, but it didn't win. Long story short, she enlists the help of Alexander something bougie, who basically is this basically the heir to his family's toilet paper. What is the word I wanted to say? Kingdom is what I'm gonna go with. That's not what I wanted to say. It's early. He is set to one day take over his family's multi-million-dollar company. He's a rich boy. Love that for him. So she enlists his help because he has a history of being crafty with computers, I'll say. They basically set off of this quest to find the owner of the ticket, or who they think is the owner of the ticket. The story also talks a lot about class, the classism, class, financial struggles, the difference between economic standings, and how people within the different economic standings see the world, view the world, have to live through the world. Talks a lot about privilege. Zan has to face a lot of his privilege. It's sad, like a lot of kids have to grow up faster than they should because they are forced to have responsibility to help take care of and provide for their family when they should just be able to just be kids. So I knew I was gonna like this book. Nick hasn't let me down yet. I love anything Nick Stone writes. I think, like I just mentioned, there are a lot of important topics covered, but it's also covered in like sort of there were heavy moments, but for the most part this book was quite lighthearted. I laughed a lot through the book. I really love Zan and Rico's relationship, their banter. They're just freaking adorable. But the way the book ended hurt me a little bit. It hurt me. Like, I understand why it ended that way, and it's realistic and I think necessary, but like, come on, Nick. Why you gotta do me like that? Why couldn't you at least give me an epilogue and tell me what happened, how that worked out? Or like, just could you DM me and personally tell me yourself how that plays out? But yes, I really liked this book. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I can't wait for Dear Justice. I think that's the next one coming out. And last but not least is I started this book. I think did I start it last February? I might have. When did I start this book? No, I started in April, but I just finished it. And it is Black Enough, which is a collection of short stories of being young and black in America, which is edited by Ibby Zaboy, and has a bunch of fantastic authors. Like I said, I started this book April of last year, and then I put it down. I think I wanted to focus on the Asian readathon, and that was about to start, so I said I was going to pick it up after it was finished, and I didn't. So I finally picked it up for Black History Month. And yeah, it's hard really to talk about or judge a collection, like a short story collection. One, because there are so many stories in it, so it's like more like an individual type situation. For the most part, I really liked it. I liked how diverse. It's a story about being black in America, but it's still so diverse because we are not the same. So it covers all different types of upbringings, walks of life, mentalities, because our culture is vast and we are vast people, and so I liked that. I had a few stories that really stood out to me. I really enjoyed Warning, Color May Fade. That one was by Leah Henderson. I have little notes at the top. That one just says that I'd love more of that one. I had Out of the Silence by Kekla Magoon. That one made me really emotional. I think it was really beautifully written. And also Oreo by Brandy Colbert. And that one, it was really relatable, hit a little close to home. But yeah, so I couldn't really give this like a star rating because, like I said, short story collections are difficult, but I'm glad I finished it. I'm glad I can finally move that from my little side table that has like my pile of books that I'm currently reading. So those are my February reads. And now we're halfway through March. I have read 2 books so far though, but we'll talk about that another time. Thank you for watching all of this. If you have, let me know what your favorite read of February was. Let me know what you're currently reading right now in March. Hopefully this goes up while it's still March, who knows. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like me, feel free to subscribe. All my places are down here so you can follow me, and I'll follow you back. And I'll see you very soon. Bye.